to using the one bit of software because there was gremlins in the works this morning. There were gremlins in the works this morning, so I thought, damn, I'm going to just put that video to members only because they'll understand that it is what it is. And then I thought, right, we need to get some more videos out to let everyone else know what's going on with the Scottish media. Anyway, and why has this changed again? This has done this twice in the last 24 hours. Um, let's get the time sorted right. There is massive gremlins in the system just now, which is weird. Anyway, good morning and welcome back to the channel, the One Celtic Fans View this morning. And there's quite a few people online, which is good to see. When it comes to the Celtic news, it's a massive, massive week for Celtic. It is a massive week for Celtic. And as expected, the Scottish media, as I tried to relay in the first video, have tried to put out some dodgy comments and dodgy headlines when it comes to Celtic. They did put out one thing regarding Jota, because he was pictured with a teammate and Rennes, who used to play for Rangers, and it was a complete nonsense headline. Anyway, he should have scored more than one. And I have no idea what you're talking about, James. Good morning, Baz. Says Dave. Jack Ryan says, man, hail, Baz and fellow Tims. Just remind you, the Rangers are shite. Yes, they are that. They are shite. Anyway, Arne Engels. Let's talk about the man going into the Champions League. The man with the weight of the world on his shoulders when it comes to Celtic fans. He is the player that we've bought for the most money ever. And does Arne Engels have the quality to make a little bit difference to Celtic in the Champions League? That's the big question this morning, and I'm going to put that onto the poll so we can get right in with a poll first thing. So, because people are going to jump off on this due to the fact that some folk will be working. Let me just get this. Can Arne Engels in the Champions League? Well, there's the question for the poll this morning. Can Arne Engels be the difference this year in the Champions League for Celtic? Can he bring us that quality just needed to help us out in the Champions League and get a couple of results that we do need? I'm not expecting loads of people to be on this live, to be honest, but it is a video that needs to be put out. Arne Engels was brought in for a fantastic amount of money. And a lot of Celtic fans are saying 11 million is a lot of money. Does he have a lot of weight on his shoulders for such a young player at only 21-year old? When you factor in the potential that he's going to improve as a player, Brendan Rodgers knows that there is some positional play that the player needs to adapt to his game whilst he's at Celtic. And that'll all come down to training in the next couple of weeks and months where we'll get that in. The consistency that is required at Celtic to play at the highest level will be known no more to the one and only Callum McGregor. Can Callum McGregor bring on Engels enough to make, and can Engels have that quality that's needed in the Champions League for it to get off to a completely winning start? Let's face it, he comes with a certain pedigree where you're thinking if there's going to be any year that we can do it in the Champions League, it has to be this year. With the new format, it makes it a little bit easier for Celtic to get through to the later stages if they can win enough games. And that's where it is going to come down to, whether they can win enough games or not. So I did ask the question, can Arne Engels be the difference this year in the Champions League? And 96% are saying yes, or 4% are saying no. He's not going to make the difference this year in the Champions League. That's interesting. Tell us in the comments section why you think Arne Engels will not make the difference. If you voted no, tell us in the comments, because that's what the channel's all about. It is the One Celtic Fans View, and I'd like to get your views on the video this morning. Anyway, Jamie Barr was in first. He says he should have scored more than one. Morning Baz said Dave Hislop. Jack Ryan is in. Hail Baz and fellow Tims. Just to remind you, the Rangers are shit. Jay Owens in the house. Hail boys and girls. Peter Hamilton. Morning boys and girls. Paul Baird's in the house. And Jamie Barr. Morning Hoops. We can win the first game on Wednesday. It's going to be a difficult game because they're right up for it. There is news coming out that it said that they're going to have around about 600 fans coming to the game. which isn't a lot of fans. So hopefully the boys that are at the ground when the guy comes on the tannoy and he goes, "Let's make some noise, boys!" at the stadium, then plays "You'll Never Walk Alone." They get the fear of God put into them because they'll never heard anything like what they're going to hear at Celtic Park on Wednesday. There's no pressure on Engels, says Brendan McGee. He says the boy is quality. Enjoy him whilst he's here. Talking about a leave already. We've got him on a 4-year contract, so we're going to have him at least for 2 seasons before Celtic will even think about punting them on. Let's just enjoy them while we can, as you say, Jamie. Jed says, yes, definitely, with Brendan's new style of play. Someone finally talking about Brendan's new style of play and not the side-to-side passing, boring Brendan ball that we got at the beginning of last season, according to some fans. Dave Hislop says, I think he will do well for us in the Champions League. Well, that no Spaniard Nubas, yes, Port Job Express. I've no idea what happened to that because I listened to some of the video back, and I just I have no idea how that happened. It was okay when I edited it, and then somehow I've managed to upload a different edit, and there was Spanish guy talking in the background on the telly. Anyway, good morning, says Lorna. That's what's good about this channel. It's authentic, and you get the authentic fuck ups. You do get the authentic fuck ups. You get it all. So there's no try. This is what's good about YouTube. This is the authenticness of being a YouTuber, and you make mistakes like that on YouTube, but you can then verify them by just jumping on a live and going, do you know what? I'm going to put that one to private because it's a bad video. Let's face it. The Spanish guy talking away in the background, and even the missus is going, how did you fuck that up? I have no idea. I wasn't listening to myself. You don't really listen to yourself. Anyway, we move on. He's much better than Bernardo, hands down, says Jamie Barr. The funny thing is once I'd done that video, I went out to do the garden. So I should have really checked the video first before going out to do the garden. Anyway, he needs time to settle fully into the team. Once he's settled, we'll see the best of him, says Port Chop Express. It's 5:15 a.m. in Massachusetts, in the good old USA. Good morning, Rodney. Good morning, Rodney. Do you get called Rodney or is it just Rod? I would call you Rod. I don't want to call you Rodney because that makes me think of Sevconians, funny enough. Port Chop Express says, morning, Lorna. Hope you're well. Paul Baird says, there can be no excuses in the Champions League this season. There can't be. And I think that the fact that there's a lot of Celtic players saying that they've learned from last season. I think last season was a bit of a wake-up call to everyone in the Champions League. Although we did play in the Champions League the year before under Ange Postecoglou, I think the style of play and the focusedness under Ange was it's like we play our game. We play our game and that's it, and we don't care. And if they score 3, we're going to try and score 4. Well, it didn't work like that for Ange in the Champions League. And it didn't work like that for Brendan previously either. And it's good to see that Brendan has made slight changes to the tactics of the team this year and been a bit more defensive on the front footing. Not defensive as in the 4 at the back. I mean, defending for the front. That's a good. I mean, Martin O'Neill used to do that as well. If you're going to defend, you defend from the front. And it's good to see Brendan Rodgers implementing that this season. Port Jobs says, Express says, Engels and Bernardo are 2 very different players and unfair to judge one against the other. I don't think I'm judging one against the other. I'm thinking with the price tag that Arne Engels has came in with, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's the one that people will be looking at to perform in the Champions League, and rightly or wrongly because of the price tag. And that is the only reason that I'm asking: is he the player? Is he the player that will make that difference to us in the Champions League? Is he the player that will have that European pedigree? The European pedigree. No AI bullshit with Baz. No, there isn't any AI bullshit. Yeah, I just get on with it. I just get in it. Watching Spanish dirty films. I don't think so, Jimmy. It's considering the missus is sitting right there at her desk. And no AI bullshit. Yeah, there's no AI bullshit on this channel. Although I've got to admit that I was probably responsible for a lot of the AI channels that are now out there because they're copycat channels. Anyway, I'm glad we don't do that anymore. Here we go. Stephen Johnson says, Spacey. Ali John says, morning, Baz, and your beautiful boys and girls. Ian Roy says, morning, Baz. I'm just glad that we got Brendan back. The former Aussie manager looks worried, man, as his tactics are getting found out down south as well. Yeah, but I see that he did come out in an interview and said, I always win in my second season. And you went to a team that historically win nada. And we all knew that you're going there to win absolutely nothing. You went there for the money, and you will not turn Spurs, and Spurs are only going to win fuck all. But anyway, he's in the past, and Brendan is back. Port Job Express says the longer this team stays together, the better it will become. Next season, in my opinion, will be a real good team emerging. We need to keep our best players. With keeping your best players, does that mean the one and only Rio Hatate? Because I think there will be one big player that will be sold next season. And I mean, that will take care of itself in the future. But I think Rio Hatate will be the next one to leave. But I read a report this morning. I did read a report this morning. Let me see if I could find it again. Yes, there was a publication put out, if you remember during the summer, that Manchester City were interested in the one and only Kyogo. And at that point, everyone at Celtic went, oh my God. Oh my God. It's been suggested in the last 24 hours that the deal to bring Kyogo to Manchester City is not completely dead in the water as far as Manchester City are concerned. And after Man City allowed Alves to leave to Atletico Madrid, they're still without a backup to Erling Haaland. The fact that Manchester City do not have a recognised second striker, they do have players that can fill that position. It's been suggested that they could come back in January for Kyogo. Now, this isn't coming out of the Scottish media. This is coming out a couple of. It's coming out of Sportsmo actually, and some Football Insider. Football Insider tend to talk a lot of shite, so I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt. I think they're just grasping at straws and making a headline that isn't really there. The fact that he was brought in under Ange in 2021, how much longer can we keep a hold of Kyogo realistically, and how much money would we sell him for ultimately if he's going to go? But we need to make sure that we have these still live. OBS is connected and has YouTube reconnected. I don't believe this one. Unbelievable. Error, change dashboard. Just had a power cut. Oh my goodness. Jesus. Yeah, we just had a power cut. Ah, Jesus God, man. Can't you make it up this morning? You cannot make it up. We had a little power cut for just around about 2 seconds that cut everyone out. Baz is packed in, says, Lorna, no, I am still here. Is there anything still left on the video? It's probably going to happen with Paul Beard, unfortunately. Let's get back into some of the comments. You can't make it up this morning. You can't make it up. Anyway, I think Celtic and Bernardo Kuhn's skills will make the difference in the Champions League. What happened, Baz, is frozen in time. Yes. Paul Baird says, let's have no doubt about the fact that at least 3 wins our top players will be away before the start of next season. Thought of my internet there. No, it wasn't the internet. We had a power cut. And you can't make it up. Even the missus came through and went, with yeah, we had a power cut. Who provides the internet? It's Ibrox. No, it wasn't the internet. It was we stay out in the countryside, so sometimes you get a little surge of power, which knocks everything out. Anyway, let's get to. I can't. Oh man, we're on a roll today, aren't we? It's Monday. I should just sack it. It's one of those Mondays where you just go, fuck it, fuck it. I'm going to do the garden. I'm going to just stay in the garden all day. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, right. We did ask the question, can Arne Engels be the difference this year in the Champions League? Paul Baird has just said, let's have no doubt about it. The fact that at least three of our top players will be away before the start of next season, he reckons. I don't think so. I don't think three of the top players. I don't think that at all. With the money that we've made for the Champions League this year, and the money that we're going to make, I think, but there's no need to. Anyway, I'm going to jump through a lot of the comments. As Lorna says, she thought her internet had turned off. Who provides internet? Ibrox. Yeah, nah, it's not. Don't know anything else, but we're getting the wee power cuts all weekend. Ah, you been getting power cuts all weekend? I don't know, Charles, but anyway, the Chef Quality board. Troops, we've got to go to work. Have a great day, says Dave Hislop. Just in, been busy, says John Milne. And I've been busy as well, trying to deal with all sorts of nonsense this morning. Anyway, Bratislava are bringing 600 fans to Celtic this week and to occupy a little corner of the stadium. It's going to be interesting to see how much noise they make, and it's going to be really interesting for Celtic players because there's a good few players, including Kasper Schmeichel, that have never been to Celtic Park before on a Champions League night, and the noise can be absolutely deafening. Haven't been to many Champions League nights before, and it was interesting that there was an old memory came up from 2013 when we played Barcelona in the Champions League, and I had my tickets on Facebook, and back in the days when the daughters used to go to the game. But anyway, we move on from that. I'm totally thrown now because of that power surge that we had that knocked the internet off. 2 seconds. God, this is going to be an interesting one. Keith Jackson's been trying to make predictions of Celtic in the Champions League. I've got to read this just for the banter. Despite the dominance on the domestic front, Celtic have not been able to perform to any expected levels in Europe recently. However, the new format could favour them, and Keith Jackson believes they must aim for the knockout stages at least. He says that Celtic must win their Champions League opener, obviously at Celtic Park, and he thinks the squad has been better equipped this time to compete at the European level. He wrote the aim is to get into the last playoff round of the last 16. It's interesting that everybody has this high expectation. I mean, Celtic have never made it into the last 16 for a long time. But the new format does give us that opportunity. Although we've made a strong start in the league, and Adam Ida, he has had, you could say, a quiet start to his Celtic career, although he did have a goal chopped off. There's a good feeling within the Celtic camp that if they win their home games, they can progress into the next round. I think we have to get at least three wins at home as a minimum of a must. Any less than that, and it's going to be Celtic's new TV format infected the internet. Mine's been pushed on Saturday. Says Pod Job Express didn't even talk to me about Celtic TV because that was just diabolical at the weekend. We have a good Champions League group this year. I think that the team are better equipped for it, says Charles Lamont. We'll do well. Young Luke looks a superb player for us. Luke does look a superb player, and I think the fact that he's not played at this level, I don't think he'll have any fear at playing at this level either. I think that there's players that have came into Celtic this year, and it's going to be interesting to see the team that Brendan Rodgers starts with. Does he start with the team that he started at the weekend? Because he left out Paulo Bernardo, and let's just get the Celtic team up, see if I've got it. Let me just go back. It's the women's team. When you look at the bench for the game at the weekend, it's probably the strongest bench that we've had all season. And if you look at it, I mean, the team that started, Schmeichel, Johnson, Carter Vickers, Scales, Taylor, McGregor, Engels, Hatate, Kuhn, Maida and Kyogo. A lot of people would say, start that team. Start that team on Wednesday night. That's the team that's going to start. Maybe that's why Brendan Rodgers started that team. And then he has on the bench Sinisalo, Trusty, Palma, Ida, Alex, Valley, young Luke McCowan, Paulo Bernardo, James Forrest, and Tony Ralston. Tony Ralston is solid enough. I mean, that is a strong bench when you look at it. But will he change it up? Will he change it up? And I don't know. I think that there's every chance he'll start the same team as the weekend. Anyway, there's only been 76 people that have voted on the poll. It's currently 121. Stuart Ramsey's just in the house. Morning, Stuart. It's all right. I had a power cut and all sorts at the beginning of the video. Lorna Garris is away. Bye, everyone. Stuart Armstrong. Hi, Uncle Stuart. Not seen you for a long time. And Glasgow's Green and White says, Hail and morning, Baz and fellow Tims. Afternoon, Baz and fellow Tims, says Stuart Ramsey. Afternoon? Where are you? Stuart, it's only 11:30 with me, 10:30 Celtic part time. There's nothing wrong with having high expectations in the Champions League this season, says Paul Baird. Exactly, there isn't, Paul. But there's a bit of me that's reluctant to be over optimistic. I think we have to have a little bit of a reality check on where we've came in the last 2 seasons in the Champions League. And we have to look at our performances. And yes, I think that 10 points is achievable. Is 10 points going to be enough to get us into the last 16 of the Champions League? We'll just have to wait and see. But I think 10 points should be the minimum target for Celtic this season. Maybe Brendan Rodgers and the boys are thinking something completely different. Maybe Brendan Rodgers and the boys are thinking we can get a minimum of 3 wins at home and 2 away wins. Maybe that's what they're looking for. Maybe Celtic, maybe the team have set themselves a target of 5 wins to get through. Maybe they've sat and looked down at they've looked at the math needed to get into the last 16, and they've went, we need 5 wins. Can Celtic realistically win 5 games in the Champions League after not being able to do it for a long, long time? But as fans, we can be as optimistic or pessimistic as we want. Let's believe Paulo will start on Wednesday. Let's still believe that Paulo will start on Wednesday. Will he start over and above Rio Hatate? I think that I'd love to see him and Arne Engels getting a run in the team together, because I think that when those two click, I think it's going to be frightening. I think it's going to be absolutely frightening. And Paul Baird, you were the one that was saying that there'll be 3 players away next season. I still think that Rio Tata, I'll be sure he'll be one of them to be away. Glasgow's Green and White says, surely we'll do better than Champions League this year. I'm not actually going to put any expectations on, because when you put expectations on, you end up then with Celtic, you ended up getting crushed and coming down to earth, and it being a complete and utter disaster of a Champions League, and then we're laughing stock with that mob across the road. Anyway, there's 31 thumbs up. Make sure you do give the video a thumbs up. There's currently 111 people on, and 326 have watched the video so far. 3 home wins and 2 away wins, or a draw or 2, says Gion. It's targetable. My bairns are all over the place, says Stuart Ramsey. That's all right, mate. It is allowed. Now, the fact that Keith Jackson has been talking and he reckons that Celtic can do better in the Champions League this year, it's a big statement of intent from him. Are we better than then? And there's a question for you. Is this current Celtic team better than the Invincible team? I want to end this poll. Let me just see this a minute. Back in 2016, 2017, Celtic went unbeaten to do the Invincible season. And the question to you is now, is just do that, capitalize that. I don't know, I need to do that as a 2 second. What is going on with this morning? It's not letting me do a poll. There we go. That is now start a poll. What is going on with the internet this morning? It's all over the place. Let's do a poll. Is this team is this team better than the Celtic invincible team? Um, do you think that this team is better than the invincible team? Now remember, the invincible team didn't achieve what this team, and this is the reason that I'm going to ask the question, because the invincible team has not achieved what this team has achieved this season, and that's 5 clean sheets. And that's the reason we are only 5 games into the season. I understand that, but with the expectation of this team going into the Champions League, um, the expectation on this team to achieve 10 points, and that's why I'm asking the question, with the expectation of this team to achieve 10 points or more in the Champions League, are this team better than the invincible team of 2016 2017? And that was a fantastic team that had the likes of Kieran Tierney in it. So that's a big, Jesus, bring a glass tear to a glass eye. Oh, Kieran Tierney, remember him? Anyway, that is the question. So far, it's split right down the middle with 18 votes. 44% say yes, 56% say no. I might actually go and put this on the community tab also, so that people can answer that in the community tab, as we'll get a bit more people on the vote. So if you are watching this video, head over to the community tab and you'll see the vote in the community tab once this video is finished. But then you're watching the video then. And I don't know, it's strange. Just remember, Baz, a lot across the road have a worse record in the Champions League group history. Yes, that lot were the worst team ever. The worst team ever, and through one of their many rebuilds. Glasgow's Green and White said, "I've never seen such much of it either, cause it kept freezing. Shocking from Celtic TV. Yep. It's too early to say," says Paul Baird. It's all Joseph says, "Here with Baz. Not yet. This team will improve. Also, this team has not won anything yet. The the invincible team of 2016, that was Brendan Rodgers' first season. That was Brendan Rodgers' first season. So at this stage of the season, they hadn't won anything yet either. So you've got to compare the beginning that Brendan Rodgers had then, and although he's into his second season, it was 2016 that he came, wasn't it? I think it was 2016. It was 2016. 2016, 2017, his first season. Brendan Rodgers' first season was the Invincible season. And at the exact same stage, statistically, this team is better than the one in 2016 because of the fact that we've not let in any goals and we broke the record that was a 118-year-old record. And it's interesting because this is splitting fans right down the middle. It's like an independence vote, 52% against 48%. It's almost 50. It's 50-50 now. The vote's 50-50. I am going to stick this on the community tab as well. Let me see, can I do that just now whilst we're live? I'm going to do it as well while we're live. Give me 2 seconds. Channel, community tab, text poll. Yes. There we go. So I put it up in the community tab also. So if you're watching this video, head over to the community tab. Is this team better than the Invincible team? Yes or no? Right. Back to the live. Portugal, we'll go before. We've got a bit to go before we compare the two teams. Hmm. Um, at the same stage of the season, statistically, this team is better than them. But well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Um, but it was in Brendan's first season. Although, as I said, this team is still gelling together and getting used to a new style of play. Well, it was pretty much like the Invincible team of 2016 because that was Brendan's first season at Celtic. I'll just double check that. Yeah, it was 2016. So in his first season, he done the Invincible. So I was right. So in his first season, he done the Invincible, right? Can I change my vote and go for a don't know? So Brendan's first season, this current team statistically are better at the same stage of the season than Brendan's Invincible team were at the same 6 games. This team have broke a record that is 118 years old. We haven't let in any goals as yet. Brendan's team back then did. So that's an interesting one. Which side of the poll will will get the 1% loss, Baz? I know. It's changed to 55% saying yes and 45% saying no. Is this team better than Invincible team? It's going to be interesting to see how that one rolls out because when you look, Brendan's into his second. Well, can you put, although he's in his second year this time at Celtic, the players that were brought in under Brendan in the first season, we can all admit that they weren't his players. The Gustav Lagerbelkis of the world and all the other 9 project players that we brought in a year ago, they weren't Brendan players. There's none of them that are still really kicking about this team. The majority of them have been shipped back out. So, with that being said, if we were to say that this was Brendan's first year, if this is the starting point, this is the starting point. He's got his own players in, and he's got his own style of play. I think he was still kind of playing Ange ball a bit last season, and to appease the players and maybe appease the fans. He maybe felt that he had to sort of maintain that style of football whilst implementing his own style, and I think that's what caused a lot of confusion at the beginning of the season. Now he's had his own players in, and he's got this new style of playing that's a bit more defensive, closing players down in the opponent's half, doubling up on players. That's the only reason that I'm asking the question. And the question is this team better than the invincible team that Brendan had in 2016, 2017? And it's now at 55% yes and 45% no. This team has great potential, says Joseph. I think it's got massive potential. There's no way of knowing how good we are until we play in Europe. But that's what I'm saying, Rod. Nay, at this stage, we can only look on the first 6 games of that season compared to the first 6 games of this season. So yeah, ask against in January. I will do that. I will. We'll re-look at that in January, and probably further afield, because I think if Brendan Rodgers has sat down like he did that season, and you've got to remember Scott Brown spoke about it after that season, that Brendan sat down with the players, and Scott Brown was amazed that it was the first time that they had done this as a Celtic squad, and they sat down and they wrote down the targets they wanted to achieve. Players wrote down the amount of goals they wanted to score. The team as a whole and Brendan and the backroom staff wanted a specific number of points. They wanted a specific number of games to see how long they could go unbeaten, and they managed to achieve everything that they set out. If they've done anything similar this season, we're in for one hell of a season again. If we go unbeaten, and now touch wood, touch wood, if we were to go unbeaten again, it would be fantastic. And then the question, rightly so, would be asked: is this team better than the team that had in 2016? There's not as many votes on this one anyway. But we haven't beaten anyone yet this season. Only rubbish teams, including Sevco. Well, you could say that they're our biggest. Although they aren't a good team, you could still say that they are our biggest. It's all going to come down to the Aberdeen game. When it comes down to the Aberdeen game next month, that's when you'll really say, let's get round the first round. Anyway, it's all for the future. We've got a massive game in the Champions League. We are looking like we become the best Celtic side in decades, but not sure yet. That's an interesting comment. This team has great potential, says Joseph. Poach Office says one of those closest polls you've put on so far, Baz. It is that. It's 55% to 45%. And it'll be interesting to see how the poll does on the community tab. It will be interesting to see. God, Well, there's been 9 votes so far, and 67% say yes, and 33% say no. So this is going to be an interesting one to watch. I'll let that run for a good few days, and we'll try and get at least 2,000 votes on the community tab for that one. So it gives us a big wide range of fans. Hopefully, we'll get at least 1,000 votes. If we can get 1,000 votes, yes. And remember, smash the thumbs up button, troops. It helps Baz in the algorithm. It says Glasgow green and white, and share it. Share it actually helps the algorithm a lot better than thumbs up. This side looks like the best side, including the bench we've had for years, says Ben. That you could actually say that, because when you look at the bench, Trusty, we've still to see Trusty in action. We've still to see how good he is as a defender. Palmer, Palmer's good, but he needs to improve as a player. Adam Ida, well, £9 million striker sitting on the bench. It's been a long time since we've had that. Alex Valley, who's on 24 grand a week from Barcelona, should give Greg Taylor that little bit of push to make sure that Greg Taylor. Luke McCowan, who's coming from Dundee, who's a fantastic addition, and he looks as if he should have been a Celtic player years ago. Why it's took Celtic so long to get him in the door is a wonder. But obviously, when it was the fact that Hibernian put in £1 million offer for him, and Celtic went, wait a minute, no chance, we can't let him go to Hibs, we've got to get him in the door himself. And I've got to give a big shout out to Paul Baird, because right through the transfer window, Paul Baird did say that Celtic would go for Luke, whether he had information, or was it Lanky? Was it Paul Baird or Lanky? It was one of the two of them. Paul Baird or Lanky said that Celtic would be going in for Luke before the end of the transfer window. Liam says, can't say yet this team is better than the Invincibles. But that's why I'm asking the question, Liam. Statistically, at this point, they are. 6 games into the season, statistically, this team is better than the Invincibles at the exact same season, at the exact same stage of the season. Remember, that was the Invincible season was Brendan Rodgers' first. And although there's only 61 votes on the poll, it's neck and neck. And let me just see if it's updated on the. It's neck and neck on the community tab. Also, right, let me see if there's any more Celtic news kicking around this morning. Celtic Champions League record is. Do we need to talk about the record? Can we not just forget about the past? And why do we do that in Scottish football? Tell me that in the comments. Why do we look at the record from a past? Because the record from previous years in the Champions League means nothing to the players that are here just now, because they weren't here. And Ange Postecoglou said that as well. He said, look, this record that you keep on going about has nothing to do with him, because he wasn't here. These players weren't there. So for people to go on about the record in the Champions League is terrible. Luke McCowan's never played in the Champions League. Lewis Palmer has played in the Champions League last season. Arne Engels, he's never played in the Champions League. Do you know? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Let's jump back into the comments. Lanky said it, and I agree, Baz. I think, yeah, I'm sure it was Lanky that said it. It was Lanky that said it. He's been on holiday, by the way. He's been on holiday. That's why he's not been online. He sent me a message the other day. Palmer has the touch of an elephant. Sell him to the Huns. And I wouldn't sell him to the Huns, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. We look at the past, because that's all there is. Now, why, right, Joseph? I understand that's why we do it. So why are we putting so much pressure on this team to achieve 10 points? Is that not a bit unfair? Now, I'm only playing devil's advocate on this and asking the question. You've just said it yourself. We look at the previous results in the past, but we're keeping a whole load of shit of pressure on this current team to achieve something that's not been achieved before. So is that fair on the current squad of players then? I think that we should all just not put any pressure on the players. I thought, fucking birds eating my olives. Dirty bastards. I'm going to hate to put something under that tree. It's a cracking crop this year as well. Anyway, but I think that for looking at the past, if we're looking at the past, we need to stop putting this pressure on the current group of players to saying to them, it's going to be disappointing if we don't get 10 points. It's going to be a disappointing season. We've never achieved that before, so let's just let them enjoy their football. Um, Look, it's going to be some player says Glasgow's green and white. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade, says Monty. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, Lanky was pretty much spot on with his predictions. Yes, he was. And Lanky gets some good information coming out of Celtic Park. He's been pretty much spot on with it. He has been pretty much spot on with it. Because there are certain winnable games in this group, says Veritrax. There were winnable games last season. We shouldn't put pressure on the players. But you're comparing the team from Invincibles. That's huge pressure. No, it's not. Liam, at the exact same stage of the season, this team is statistically better than the Invincible team were. You remember that was Brendan's first season. So looking at his first 6 games then to his first 6 games now, this team is better. Don't worry, Baz. The pressure is on Brendan Rodgers. It is that. The pressure is all on Brendan Rodgers. 10 points will be difficult, says Plunge McNugget. Hatate looked peeved that he was dropped for the penalty duties. He'll be off in January, says Ian Roy. I've got a funny feeling that he will be the next one to go. Will it be January or will it be... What if, and I'm not even want to talk about January, we're going to leave the transfer speculation until we've got way the Beatles, Baz. Plunge McNugget. The song, wasn't it? That's it. Robert says the only thing Rodgers doesn't have a great record in Europe, but with this squad, that can change. Haley Baz still celebrating 67, rightly so, as a thing. Or we'll do that. I was only 10 in 67. You were 10 in 67. Jesus. Poach Robert says it's the lyrics for a song. I'm sure, isn't it, Money? Yes, it is. Indeed. It's a Beatles song. Ringo Starr song from the Beatles. I'm not thinking about the Beatles and songs and music just now. I'm trying to just read this and say it's the Beatles. I recognise the lyrics. Right then, we move on. We move on. This poll, there's only been 73 votes, even though there's been 500 odd people on the live. There was a big drop off, obviously, when we lost the internet and the live. So if you've managed to still stick around, we're probably going to lose loads of folk on that. The video afterwards. There's currently 152 people on. It's not as much as usual, but it is what it is for a Monday morning. Monday morning that's been full of glitches in the system for me today. Let me see if there's any other Celtic news kicking around this morning. There's not a lot. Obviously, the team will be back in training this morning. And will the team, I wonder if Brendan Rodgers and the team will even speak about the game on Saturday, or will they just get right in? They're just going to get right in and right down to business, aren't they? It's Monday morning, they'll be in and they'll be focused, and they'll be right. How's everyone feeling? Let's get the fitness test done. Let's make sure everybody's fit. Has anybody got any niggles from the weekend? Everybody's going to go put their hands behind their back, even if they do, because nobody's going to get left out the squad for Wednesday. And then they'll go through the motions in training. And then after training, they'll probably sit down and then they'll go through video footage of Bratislava and games. And that'll be what they'll do for the next couple of games. They'll sit down after training today. They'll look at different areas of the pitch, and they'll obviously get the defenders, seeing how the strikers act. The strikers will be then looking at the defence and seeing how they interact and any little holes that they can pick in their play. And then Brendan Rodgers will come up with a team and a formation that can hopefully win the game at Celtic Park. Poach Opposite Special, could you see Lennon Miller signed in January, left Motherwell till next summer and left at Motherwell? That's an interesting one. But he's in midfield, isn't he? Lennon Miller, is he not? How do I send a pick, Baz? Oh dear. You're going to, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, go into Twitter or Facebook, there you'll get the links in one of the videos, maybe even this one. Um, Will said pork chop. What does pork chop say? Yeah, you might do. They might do. Anyway, right, I'm done and dusted for this morning. We will be going live. We'll be doing an update around about 5 o'clock, and then we'll be going live at 8 p.m. tonight. 8 p.m. tonight, where we'll talk about the headache that Brendan Rodgers does have coming up this week. And it'll be who does he play in midfield? It's a good headache for him to have. When I'm just looking at the poll on the community tab, is this team better than the Celtic Invincible team? I should really update that and say that as a you can't change it. Fuck's sake. Can't edit. How can you not edit? That's shite. That's shite. Um, that's going by. It's not this thing is better. I'll put that in the comments, and I'll pin it at the top. And there we go. So yeah, that's me updated that. Anyway, let's jump into the. I sat and watched the great team in Portugal in 1967. Says Ben, were you at the game or did you watch it? There's still are there still five subs in the Champions League? I'm not too sure actually if there's still five subs in the Champions League. Saturday's done. It's all about Wednesday now. It says Paul Baird. Celtic's odds on Wednesday are 10-23 on. Only Real Madrid and Bayern are Bayern, Jesus, well, there you go. Just pulled over to the morning bars trip late again, says Desmond Donnelly, that's fine. No Porky, I was 1 at 67. Joseph says, hey, Baz, take your wife out. Is it sunny here in Ayrshire for a change? Well, we're 2 years, she's working until 5 o'clock. Hey, well, Baz, get those birds away from your olives. That sounds so sore to me. I know the olive trees are absolutely blooped. What a crop we've got of olives this year. Anyway, um, it was one of the Monty. It was one of the worst Beatles songs. Still talking about the Beatles. Anyway, on that note, have an absolute. Why is this? What's going on with the screens today? We are sitting at 18,865. Will tonight be the night where we hit 18,088 subs? Or we're going to have to go live tomorrow morning so that hit that number. Anyway, thank you for watching the video today. Make sure that you give a thumbs up in the way, and I shall see you at 8 p.m.